Today I'm very honored to introduce my good friend, Kevin O'Riordan. Kevin is an acute myeloid leukemia survivor and stem cell transplant recipient. He's riding in the Pan Mass Challenge this weekend for the second time to help raise funds and support the Jimmy Fund and the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. In August 2024, Kevin rode 186 miles on a 2-day route from Sturbridge to Provincetown, Mass. This year, he'll be riding the route again, this time with a team comprised of his brother Tom, who is a stem cell donor, and his dear friend Nate, his uncles, and his sister-in-law Alissa. He's riding primarily to help raise funds that will aid in continuing research and operations at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. Funding goes to doctors, nurses, staff, and researchers at DFCI so they can continue to help people like Kevin. He's a proud supporter of the Pan Mass Challenge because it is leading the charge to beat cancer. In fact, 100% of rider raised revenue went directly to support the Jimmy Fund and Dana-Farber's tireless commitment to finding a cure. Kevin's a great friend, amazing person with an amazing story, and I'm very grateful for him to be with us here today. Kevin, I really appreciate you coming on for our listeners. Thank you for sharing your story. And how are you?
Doing good, Eddie. Thanks for having me. Happy to be
Absolutely.
here.
Yep, definitely. All right, Kevin. I talked about it a little bit in the intro here, but I'd like to hear it in your words. Why are you riding in this year's Pan Mass Challenge?
Primarily to raise funds, like you talked about. The PMC is directly related to Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, which is where I got my treatment done, at least the latter half of my treatment. And just seeing how much goes into the process there and how hard the people work there, from the staff to the doctors to the nurses, it's just a way for me to give back to a community that gave so much to me. They make it extremely easy, if you want to call raising a bunch of money and riding your bike really far easy, but they make it very digestible to jump in and just try it. So this year I am riding for that exact reason, to give back. It's a little bit different than last year for me. Last year, I think it was more of a healing process. And this year almost feels more of a celebration. So there's different personal reasons, but the majority of the reason I would say is to raise funds and give back to a community that gave so much to me.
Yeah, yeah, no, it sounds like a great community. Could you tell us a little bit about the Pan Mass Challenge and what it's all about?
Yeah, so it's the one of the major fundraising arms for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. Um, it's it's a bikeathon. It was established in 1980 by Billy Starr, and I'm not entirely sure on the history, but the way I understand it, it was a pretty organic start to it back in 1980, where I believe his mother. I'm not positive on this, but I believe his mother was sick, and he was raising funds to help pay for treatment. Um, and it's morphed into the world's largest athletic event fundraiser. Last year hit a 1 billion lifetime um, achievement of raising $1 billion.
Yeah.
And so it is a tremendous amount of money that they raise each year that gives right back to Jimmy Fund and Dana-Farber Cancer Institute.
Yeah. 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 The first time that you rode, which was last year, was really the first time that I had heard about it and looked into it a little bit. It really is amazing. It's been going on for the last 45 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens every year, right? Is that right?
Yes, every year, first weekend of August, and there's multiple routes that you can choose from. I I choose the route I chose because it's the original route. It's challenging for me,
Yeah.
but other routes, shorter routes, are going to be the same exact um, the same exact reasoning for someone else. The shorter route might be just as equally challenging for them, and that's the route that they'll choose. And based on what route you choose, you're really crossing a wide area of Massachusetts,
Yeah.
which for me, being from Massachusetts and not living there for quite some time, almost a decade minus my treatment time, it's a nice way for me to connect to the where I grew up see the different towns, ride them through on my bike. It's just a different way to connect to a place that is special to me. Um, and so I think a lot of people take a lot from that, and they choose different routes based on where they're from. I start from Sturbridge and I go to P-Town.
Yeah.
Other people might start in Wellesley,
Yeah.
or some people might start in Bourne and just ride day 2 and ride through the Cape, which is just beautiful.
Yeah.
So it really is a fully equipped and supported ride, and it's emotional, it's fun, it's a party, it's just a good time, where you're also pushing yourself and working really hard. So it's kind of my favorite thing. I did it last year, and instantly I told everybody, I don't know if I'm going to do it next year, but I already knew I was going to do it. I just,
Yeah.
I told my wife right away. I was like, man, this is something I'm going to do
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah.
Uh, I, I, I like to keep an open mind about things, but I could see myself doing it every year because
Yeah.
it's a really cool experience.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, so I could definitely, you know, um, aside from the diagnosis and everything you went through, your whole journey, this Pan Mass challenge and everything it's about, it's very you, you know. So it's like
yeah,
I could see you doing this, or having done this no matter what. And yeah, I could definitely foresee you doing this every year and your team growing. You know, it was just you
mhm,
last year, and now you've got a
yeah.
team around you. Um, I'd love to see that. Maybe I'll be part of your team one year. We'll
I
see.
would love that. You could
Yeah,
do it. I know you could.
yeah. I gotta I
You could
gotta
just
get
go
some
out and do it
sleep.
tomorrow, Ed.
I don't know. I gotta get some sleep first with this new board, so we'll see what happens. Take it
Very
day by
true.
day. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, take me back. Before all of this, can you please tell me again, what were you officially diagnosed with, and when was that?
In August 2022, I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, AML. It's a blood cancer type of leukemia. Um, and yeah, that was in August of 2022. Had been experiencing some strange health issues. My wife and I were in California. That's where we were living at the time. I just kind of recently stepped through a change in my career, where I went to Vermont Law School and got my master's in environmental law, and I was really trying to work in the public land uh, sphere because that's what it really piqued my interest. So it was just a big time for us, big change. We were out, we didn't know anybody out there. We had been travel nursing for quite some time. My wife's a ER nurse, she was at the time. And so we kind of landed and we were working. And yeah, I was taking on a new career, taking on in a Bureau of Land Management, big agency. I was really hitting a stride, I thought. Um, and I was training really hard for a race I had coming up, and it was a unique type of race I'd never done before. It was sort of like the what was the name of it? It was a Spartan Deca race where it's indoors, you run and you're lifting at each station.
Yep.
So it's sort of like a um, heavy lifting, but also running. So it's just a fun way to train, where you had to be cardiovascularly fit, but also strong.
Yep.
And I was just training, getting super strong, super fit, and just all of a sudden things were just just incredibly tired at work, incredibly tired in training. Um, it was something I learned now through all this treatment, but I can be pretty hard on myself. So I was just pushing through, um, and just struggling with this deep fatigue I'd never felt before. So the harder I was working, the more tired I was getting. And yeah, so I went in and got blood work. They didn't they didn't find anything. They thought the typical stuff for a 32-year-old. I was 32 at the time. They're like, "You're healthy, fit. Maybe you got low testosterone, something like that." They test all that. It was nothing. There's no issues. They said, "Oh, you're probably just overtrained. You got deep fatigue." So I just kept going. Just that's all you can do. So at work, it got to the point coffee wasn't enough. I was popping caffeine pills just to keep going. Um, and I was working in the summer. I would work in Montana for 2 weeks. I would teach a class in Vermont Law School as a teacher's aide there through the University of Montana in Missoula. And I drove up and I was sleeping in my car and hiking during the day on the, kind of making a road trip out of it like we always did. It's something we enjoyed doing. But man, I was just so tired. I couldn't even function.
Yeah.
And I was complaining to my wife on the phone. I'm like, is this what 32 feels like? Because I'm just so tired. I was having to get hotel rooms instead of camp. And, I love being outside. So
Yeah.
that was troubling for me. And yeah, made it through the 2 weeks. And when I came home, I basically was just a zombie. I went back into the doctor. They ran a bone marrow biopsy, and that later that week is like a Thursday or a Friday. I got a phone call. It's about 7 a.m. I was out on a mountain bike ride before work, and yeah, they told me that I had leukemia, um, and my immune system was extremely compromised, which is part of the reason for fatigue, and that's part of what leukemia is. Um, I was experiencing just kept getting sick and really bad canker sores because it's just basically your body can't handle the bacteria because your immune system's so low. Um, so yeah, I got the call and they said, you got to come in right away. They told me I was like 97, 98% cancer cells in my body.
Wow.
So yeah, I was just kind of alone. My wife was off at work. Just getting that news was something I'll never forget.
Yeah.
So everything kind of changed on that day, and yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can imagine. I mean, I know it's a tough thing to recall, but when you did get the news, what were some of the first things that kind of came to mind? How did you feel?
I was, it's you get news like that, it's almost surreal. So I was not really. I don't know if I was not thinking straight. I think I was actually extremely clear. Um, I felt like a mental clarity. Um, and I thought to myself, like, what's the best way to handle this situation? So I just, I asked the doctor, he's like, you got to come in right away and try not to go out in public beforehand because you could get really sick. Um, I said, well, I've been pushing through this for so long. At this point, it was dawning on me that I probably had this for quite some time to be 97, 98% cancer cells and be sick for so many months. I was like, I've been pushing through this already on my own. I didn't know anything about leukemia.
Yeah.
Um, I said, so can I just keep pushing through? Maybe I won't go in. And he said that that's not an option. The only option is to come in or, you know, uh,
Yeah.
not continue for
Yeah.
too long. And so it was really at that pivotal point. So I said, okay, thank you. And my wife was already at work at the time. She worked down in Sacramento, which was about 45 minutes from where we lived. Um, so we kind of were waiting because I had done the biopsy. So we were waiting on some news. So I just shot her a text. I said, I got some news. Just call me when you can. Um, I let her know. And she handled it really well on the phone. I don't know how she handled it in person, but she did leave work and come right home, and it was a couple hours probably. And in that time, I reached out to the people who were most important to me. I took it as an opportunity to like just go head first. Um, I didn't want them to find out in some weird way, and so I called my parents, my siblings, and I called my really good friend Nate, and yeah, everyone was just blown away, shocked. No one knew what it looked like, including myself, and And so we went into the hospital. We didn't go in until the next day, or um, maybe even Sunday. I can't really remember, but we went in, and um, yeah, that was the last time I felt that I walked into a place with my old self. I feel like I came out a completely different person. So um, it's kind of an interesting chapter in my life, and it was this pivotal change that um, is deeply embedded with me now, and it changed the person I am going forward. So
Yeah.
at that point, we were in the hospital. We you know you go up to the bone marrow transplant floor. That's the typical route of someone with AML,
Yeah.
is a bone marrow transplant, or a stem cell transplant, I suppose, if you have a good enough donor match.
Yeah.
Um, but before you get to that point is when you start your treatment. So I started my treatment that very day, and it's called the induction chemotherapy. It's like the first round, and I was young and strong with my youth, so they gave me some really intense treatment that I kind of fell into the peds almost. Like they said, I don't know all about it, but they said that it's more intense than they'd give like an older person.
Yeah.
So my cohorts with AML are generally much older than me,
Yeah.
um, and so uh, the I was able to kind of do more intense treatment to try to bring down my immune system. The goal is to knock down that all those cancer cells with that induction round of chemotherapy.
Yeah.
And if they're, ideally, you do this round of chemotherapy, it knocks out the cancer cells, and then they don't come back, and then you don't have to do the bone marrow transplant. But how they do that is you run through an induction round. They give you a bone marrow biopsy,
Yeah.
uh, which is an experience all in itself. Um, and then if that doesn't work for me, they ran another induction round. So I did 2 rounds of that, another bone marrow biopsy. Um, Unfortunately, the induction rounds didn't take for me. Um, at that point, I was in Sutter Health in Sacramento, which, I give so much, try to give so much back, and I feel so connected to Dana-Farber. But man, the people at Sutter too is just another people that I owe my life to. So
Yeah.
they're met some really nice people there. You're not really able to engage
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. It's you're kind of not yourself, and your body's not even your own at that point. But
Yeah.
just the way they took care of me, and the doctors and the staff and the nurses there, and the people I met on the floor, um, they'll stick with me forever. So um, after the third bone marrow biopsy, cancer cells were still really high. Um, at that point, we my wife reached out to my aunt Mercedes, and she knew someone at Dana Farber, so we were able to kind of get in contact there.
Yeah. So Dana-Farber.
Got a contact at Dana Farber. We we wanted to Massachusetts, New England area. Uh, it was just an easier way to have their support, and be close to them. And we were concerned about the future, because of how unsuccessful the treatment had been to this point. And so just having that support system close by was frankly a major ask of ourselves, but we thought it was the right decision to make. Um, when we were out in Sutter, we were 4 hour flight, I'm sorry, cross country flight, 4 hour time change away from all the people we knew and loved and relied upon. Um, and so we had, people drop their lives to come support us. Um, my cousin Pat, who who's extremely important to me, my brother, my parents, my sisters and sisters-in-law and brother-in-law, and um, not everyone was able to visit, but everyone was able to support us. And those who did visit, it was just such a monumental time in everybody's life that adding this cross country logistics was it was just really hard. Um, we had these two we had this house. It's a guest house on a property that we lived on, and we were really close with our landlords, and they helped us out tremendously. They were able to, watch our dog and almost host our guests as they came into town. And Dana was working full time, and when she wasn't working, she was in the hospital room with me. So she was just so selfless and so. I mean, she must have been so hard for her. I can't imagine. But um, we we had the doctors tell us Dana-Farber is a world-class institute, but we really can't recommend you traveling at this point. I was very, very weak at this point. And we said, it's something we got to do. We got to go. So we took a first class flight, which I'd never done before. And I don't remember it, but I was told I had a good time, I guess. We were going through the San Francisco airport, and that's the last thing I remember because I was getting wheeled through. I couldn't even walk at this point. I had lost so much body weight. I was just so weak, and my immune system was nothing. So I was just shell. And I had the mask and gloves. I had to protect my immune system best I could. And the real threat was just being exposed to a place like an airport or an airplane at the state I was in. So, the last thing I remember is sort of getting rolled through and cutting the line. The line was super long at TSA. And I remember thinking like, man, I feel bad about cutting this line because, all these people have to wait for their flight. I wonder if we should just wait in line. And everyone was looking at us. And I remember thinking, man, they're all looking at us because we're just cutting the line for no reason. And I said that to Dana, and she was like, no, they're all looking at us because they're looking at you. They're happy to let you cut.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's an emotional memory for me. But anyway, we safely landed in Boston, and we went right into Dana-Farber the next day, and met with the team there, with the bone marrow transplant team. And it just felt like all the decisions and the scary moments we had of making that decision to move and go.
Yeah.
It was all the second I walked in there, it was just, I knew it was the right decision. So it was like this deep relief we felt. And my wife too, Dana, she just felt the same exact way. It was a big, it was a bit of a risk and a big decision, and so glad we made it. And then being close with family as well is just tremendous. So we moved in with my grandmother. She lives in Natick, so we were living with her, which is walking distance to my parents' house, where my sister and her three children live as well, and walking distance to a lot of my aunts and uncles. Not that I was able to walk, but just to be that close to people was very comforting. And we started treatment there at Dana-Farber. Um, that was, we went in for a bone marrow biopsy. Basically, they just tap into your hip. It feels sort of like an elephant is stepping on your back. They're just drilling. They kind of hammer it in. It's not so bad, but it's extremely uncomfortable. But I remember they did that, and I think that was my fourth or fifth one at this point in not that long of a time period. I guess I would like to say that I was at Sutter when I went in to when I came out. It was 40 days. I was in the hospital for 40 days there. 40 days, and I think however many nights that was. And so coming in and staying at my grandmother's, but moving to Dana-Farber, we expected, we all anticipated that I would move right into the bone marrow transplant floor, and try to wait for a donor match. But when we got there, we went through that bone marrow biopsy, and something happened along the way where the results were positive. The cancer cells were way down. The induction round, whether the first one or the second one, it had worked. I wasn't in remission. I still had cancer, but it was some news that was much needed. And it was just felt tremendous. And so at that point, they just said, well, let's just wait. Let's get you a donor lined up, and we'll get, depending on who the donor is and how good of a match it is, we'll either do a bone marrow transplant or a stem cell transplant. And it was just amazing. It was also a bit uncomfortable because I went from being a full-time hospital visitor to staying at my grandmother's, which was extremely clean, and my wife took great care of me. I mean, she was my caregiver, but it was just uncomfortable being out of the hospital system. It felt, everything was a threat. Felt like at that point to me. So yeah, I guess it's a little bit hairy, to be honest with you, but at a certain point, I was going in every day, getting checked, waiting for a donor match. The best match, I suppose they say, is a male brother. So I had a male brother. And I guess, a sister works really well too, but for some reason a male match is better. I don't know if it's male to male or what, but how it works. But my brother was getting tested. They were running to see the donor match. And at that point we just kind of settled into a routine of going into Dana-Farber every day, waiting for the results, and working towards this next step in my treatment. And I very, very weak, but I wasn't actively doing chemo. So I was kind of starting slowly to feel somewhat better, somewhat less poisoned. But I was slowly able to eat a little bit more. I didn't gain any weight back or anything like that, but it was just, I was able to walk a little bit, just kind of getting a little bit stronger, which those incremental increases in strength are they feel monumental at the time. And so it just felt really good, felt really like things were moving forward. Brother came back with a complete match. And so we got scheduled to go into the bone marrow transplant floor in Brigham and Women's, which is where Dana-Farber's treatment floors are. You go sit in Brigham and Women's Hospital there in Boston, and it's connected to Dana-Farber. So moved into that floor and kind of got established with the nurses there. Learned the crew, met the team, and just felt like it was a very exciting time. And then that I don't know how much time went by before we moved in there though, because I can't really remember. And but it was a significant amount of time. A couple months maybe. And so at that time we found an apartment in Framingham. And that was a really kind of a full circle moment for me. As you know, I mean, we went to high school together. It was right down the street from our high school. It was walking distance there. It was really close to Bowditch Field, where me and you both had many practices there. And it was just a place I hadn't been in a long time. And it felt amazing to just be near that stuff. I mean, I even had memories of the parking lot where the new apartments were. where
Yeah.
we used to play street hockey in that parking lot. So it was just a cool place to be for me. Um, and for my wife, she picked up a travel assignment while we were there. She was working in the ER at um, Newton Wellesley Hospital.
Yep.
So um, I guess it's before I move into the next step of my treatment, I was thinking about the best time to sort of broach the subject. And I think it's in my healing, it felt like now,
Yeah.
where I just started to almost be overwhelmed with what my wife did for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just how strong she was. And
Yeah.
um, I truthfully would not be here without her. So
Yeah.
just a deep, deep love and appreciation for
Yeah.
everybody, every little bit of who she is and what she gave
Yeah.
for me and for us.
Yeah.
And just to be going through that, and she was still working full time. Um, I had no benefits at this point. I was basically on Cobra benefits from the government because I couldn't work, and
Yeah.
she was just supporting me in more ways than one. Just supporting our house, our bills, but also more importantly, me and us and
Yeah.
our relationship, and quite literally take giving care to me, being my caregiver.
Yeah.
Um, I couldn't really eat much of anything outside of what we cooked, so it was very strict diet.
Yeah.
Um, and so just there were days I struggled to walk upstairs or even open doors. And so not only is she working, but she's coming home to me, not really able to provide for myself, and
Yeah.
never felt sorry for herself, never wavered, just
Yeah.
an incredible strength that I'll just forever be grateful for.
Yeah.
Can't really put it into words as I want to, but it's a deep, deep appreciation and love. Um, so during that time, I was getting a little bit stronger. They basically said I got scheduled to go into the Brigham and Women's bone marrow transplant floor. I think I had 30 days to kill before I went in,
Yeah.
and I knew what was coming at this point because I had already gone through 2 rounds of chemo.
Yeah.
But basically, when you go in, you got to do another round of chemo
Yeah.
just to bring your immune system down to zero. I mean, literally just no white blood cells. That's what they want, because then if you have that way, they put in the stem cells.
Yeah.
They take over as slowly as your immune system. You're on immunosuppressants,
Yeah.
so you're internal battling between your immune system's trying to fight these new cells,
Yeah.
but these cells are what's strong enough to fight the cancer.
Yeah.
So the cancerous cells they basically need to reestablish the idea being these cells, your bone marrow creates blood.
Yeah.
My bone marrow was creating cancerous blood
Yeah.
cells.
Yeah.
These new stem cells this new bone marrow would create non-cancerous cells.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I don't really understand the science on it, but that's the understanding I had, and so I felt that battle's going inside of you. But I had 30 days before I started that process, and it was actually longer than that. I think I had 8 weeks, and I know that because I took the opportunity to um, do what I knew how to do, which was prepare, and I viewed my job as just being there, being not even present, but being continuing through and
Yeah.
being the best version of myself I could be,
Yeah.
just so I could keep fighting and give back to the people who gave so much to me. Um,
Yeah.
so I took 4 weeks to physically prepare. I was working very hard to be as strong physically as I possibly could. Um, it wasn't impressive by regular means of strength, but I was pushing myself tremendously. I was able to walk. Um, I was able to. I'd go to the gym, which was I was told not to, but I had to go. So I had the mask and the gloves and everything. But
Yeah.
um, working with bands, I wasn't able to do any weight. My joints were just demolished from chemo, but
Yeah.
I was able to goal. My goal was to just get as strong as physically as I possibly could in those 4 weeks,
Yeah.
and with a secondary goal of just getting a pull up in.
Yeah.
And so by the end, I was able to do a pull up, and that's that was like my end goal for then moving into a 4 week period where I just focused on mental strength.
Yes. Yes.
And in that period, I quieted my mind. I shut off all technology. I just really focused on going in with this level-headed
Yeah.
approach to what I was about to endure, and just being in a quiet, strong mental place. Um, I had certain practices that I'd been practicing for a long time. I leaned into those. Um, I thought daily at depth, um, almost sort of like a meditation, I suppose, but it was just a quiet moments of strict mental focus on what people provided for me. What's the best way for me to give back? What is my goal? What is my purpose? It was just to survive. So it was just, how can I do that? And really, it's just enduring the tough part of physically and mentally what you got to go through when you're in the hospital.
Yeah.
So just establishing that focus. And when I went in, I was just determined. I was felt really, really good. I was, physically not feeling all that good, but I was as best I could possibly be. And mentally, I felt extremely, extremely clear. I felt strong.
Yeah.
Um, and so I went in with that mindset. And next portion of my treatment was that initial chemo round, and then eventually recover from that. You don't leave the hospital, but you recover there, and then you do the stem cell transplant. And just going through that process, um, it allowed me to know what was coming and step into it with like as much vitality as I possibly could.
Yeah.
Um, so that was the treatment, and then you recover from the stem cell transplant, and eventually you get to go home.
Yeah.
When you go home, you're at your weakest point, um, immuno wise. So there's a 100-day period where you can't really leave the house or do anything. It's like almost like a bubble boy. Um, you just have to establish a really clean, disinfected home and
Yeah.
stay there.
Yeah.
I couldn't eat fresh fruit, fresh vegetables. I couldn't eat anything that would introduce germs to my body. So I was boiling everything. And 100 days is a long time to live like that.
Yeah.
Um, but you get through, and so that was sort of the end of the treatment.
Yeah.
Um, you know, the treatment continued in a lot of ways, and it still does today.
Yeah.
But that was really the stepping through those 100 days. You get multiple bone marrow biopsies again just to make sure. And when things start taking and you're cancer free,
Yeah.
that's sort of the trial period. 100 days allows your new immune system to try to take over a bit before you start introducing germs from
Yeah.
the outside world. And it's a slow progression to after that 100 days, but that's the critical time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that's sort of the path that I took,
Yeah.
treatment wise.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What's amazing about this is I think everybody approaches a diagnosis like this differently. Your mindset in particular, I remember, us just texting back and forth or talking, or, um, when we met in that little period before you were going to go in for the stem cell treatment. you always had a very steady and consistent determination. That was never a doubt. Um, and you were very focused. You talked about some of these rituals you've had around mindset and preparation. Um, could you share at all, if it's okay, anything you were listening to, watching, reading, um, how you were feeding your mind to reinforce that strength, that focus, that mindset throughout all this?
Yeah. For years, I had been doing this practice called Nikan, um, or Nikon. Not sure how it's pronounced, but it's Naikan. And there's a guy, Greg Creech, that wrote a book, um, Nikon, The Art of Self-Reflection, I believe it's called. And it's basically a self-reflection tool that um, allows you to take periods of your life. Maybe it's your last year or the last hour or any sort of dynamic. It's very dynamic, but any sort of period in your life, and
Mm,
look at it through a lens that's very prescriptive. Um, and it's very simple, and it asks three questions. Um, uh, what did I receive? What did I give? And what pain and trouble did I cause?
mm,
And it's a very hard. The simplicity of the questions themselves are extremely lead to, if done in earnest,
yeah,
a very um, no frills, just sort of
yeah,
uh, idea, and looking at yourself and looking at that time period, and really cutting through. And I guess an overarching theme is that you're trying to get out of the mindset of a selfish mindset, and just looking at through the world through your own lens, and
yeah,
you're trying to look at yourself and your actions and what you say to people and how you act from a third party. What do people see of you? And it's not so much as an image driven thing, but it's more of, you want to you start to realize in answering those questions that 95% of your answer is, what did I receive? You're
mm,
receiving countless things from other people.
yeah,
Uh, Something as simple as like a cashier checking you out and telling you to have a good day.
yeah,
Um, do you just walk away? Do you respond? Do you in earnest look them in the eye and say, you too? I mean,
yeah,
it's as simple as that. And then it's as deep as, for me, what my wife and family and
yeah,
all the people who cared for me did for me. Um, and then that's the giving part. What did I give? You realize that you give so much less than you receive on a
mm,
daily basis. And
yeah,
then what pain and trouble you cause, that's a hard look at yourself, and just
yeah,
to say, yeah, maybe I was uh, rude to this person. Maybe I was could have included this guy more in a conversation or something like that. You can't help it. We're just animals, but you cause pain to people, and you ruffle feathers. And
yeah,
it's not an avoidance thing, but it's just being aware.
yeah,
So I've been practicing that daily for years. Um, I had broken my back during a mountain bike race, and I found this book. That was back in 2018, and I found this book, and I read it, and it was from that point on that I did that every day.
yeah,
And just the comeback from that was really challenging, but it just completely changed my mindset in my life.
yeah,
And it was a practice I held quite dear to me.
yeah,
Um, and so I really relied on that in the hospital.
yeah,
I had to do it from a new lens, because you're not given much,
yeah,
but what you could give was just the small thank yous, which sometimes, just in that state you're in,
yeah,
just saying thank you is a heck of a
yeah,
feat.
yeah,
Um, so I just had to reassess, but I definitely relied on that, have for years. Um, and it's something I read and reread maybe 100 times, but in that period, it was really important for me.
yeah,
Um, as far as other books, I'm an avid reader and always have been. And at that period, I just I was I tried to lean I tried to lean fictional, casual, upbeat. Um, I Same with what I was watching. Anything I was allowing to enter my brain, I wanted it. If I was going to be influenced in any way, I wanted it to be very casual, make me laugh, make me feel good.
Yeah.
Um, and that's actually something I had to learn, and I learned it from you. You sent me a text when I was in Framingham, just sending some study about how uh, laughter, what it does to your brain and what it does to your physical body, and just the amount it can help you. And it was at that point I said, well, I had been watching some, heavy stuff. I'd been reading some tough, not something tough nonfiction. I said, let me try this. So I just started reading things that would make me laugh. I just took everything as an opportunity to step out of reality for a moment and just turn off the brain, laugh, have fun.
Yeah.
Because the fun times were a little bit few and far between, so just finding them in everyday moments was really nice. So that's what I focused on. Um, uh, I guess this is unique, but it felt right to me. I didn't do any research about AML. I didn't read on anything about what treatment was like. I I avoided learning about my disease
Yeah.
like the plague.
Wow.
Um, and I did that because I knew it would only affect my outlook, and expectations.
Yeah.
And if I just simplified and just said my job is to do all I can right now and today, that to me was a simpler approach than learning and sort of ruminating on certain things that could or couldn't go wrong. And I in training I find this too. It's just like if you're hyper focused on what you want your outcome to be, then you're just focused on that, and the process itself kind of gets lost and you lose touch. But
Yeah.
if you just have a really simple mindset and a simple goal, then you can just move forward with that. So
Yeah.
that's what my goal was. It was just to be the best version of myself I could be, and I didn't want to read anything on my disease or anything like that. So I made the mistake of reading one thing on my disease, no, I'm not doing that again. So I quickly stopped. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then as far as what I listened to, I stopped listening to all podcasts and stuff just because I didn't want outside influence. I knew what I had to do. So
Yeah.
I wanted to go internal.
Yeah.
But I listened to a scary amount of Grateful Dead. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I like listening to. And I'm a Deadhead through and through. So I just went decade by decade and just listened to all the live shows. It was a really cool period of my life, and I got to do that.
Yeah.
Um, and it comforts me. It's music that I've relied on to just be soothing and comfortable for me for a long time. So it's just that's what I listen to. I think Spotify told me I was hours, hundreds of hours of Grateful Dead that year. It does that Wrapped thing. It tells you. I was like, oh, that's a
Yeah.
little too much, maybe, but it's what it felt good at the time. So I
Yeah.
still listen to a lot of Dead. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, that's those are I took everything I was taking in as sort of what I wanted to be careful of what influenced me,
Yeah.
and mainly what influenced my mindset.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's powerful. Self-reflection. Um, yeah, it's rare you hear testimony like this. It makes total sense. And I didn't even know the detail of how you set your mindset and reinforce that every day. And it makes total sense. The simplicity of everything, going internal, and just focusing on being the best version you could be every day. Um, it's just a tremendous example. And um, how about faith? Did faith play a role at all in your process?
yeah, it absolutely did. Um, and I know we've connected on this, and I don't. It's something I had to really step into with a new light. I had to I had to I had to take a look at what my faith was and um, read, um, you know, certain passages in a new light because I had been raised Catholic, um, went to Catholic high school, I went to a Catholic college, and I never really stepped away, but I did lose the ritual side of things. I stopped for a long time going to church and things like that. Um, Never fully, but pretty much, and but never lost that belief, I suppose. Um, it was just something I sort of kept quiet, and it was in that period of when I was recovered that I didn't want to go to church. I was a little scared of the germs, frankly, um, and I had to be really careful. But when I was able to go back into public spaces, and yeah, I would go. I would go, and then really when we moved back to Raleigh, which was a decision we had to make, uh, probably about a year out of my transplant, for reasons that were um, sort of outside of us. Dana's mom, Kay, was diagnosed with cancer, lung cancer, 5 years before, and had been battling that. And we wanted to be close with her and her dad, Bob, and Alissa and Andrew. Um, and they're all in Raleigh, so we moved back to Raleigh. And at that point, I was able to go into public a little bit more. Kay, my mother-in-law, she was a deeply spiritual person. Um, and so when I was able to, I started attending mass with her. And it was just, um, yeah, it was deeply connecting for me. And it really deepened our relationship. Um, and yep, unfortunately, she passed away in April. But I learned a heck of a lot from her about just what faith can be and what it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be public. It doesn't have to be anything with expectation. It is what you make it. Um, and so for me, it was a great way for me to connect with my family, they're all Catholic, especially being away at that point, and still to this day being in Raleigh, and now attending mass alone. It's just a way to connect.
Thanks for sharing that, Kev. No, it's not an easy thing to share, but definitely helpful to others listening as
Yeah,
well.
it is. And um, my sister-in-law Alissa is doing the Pan Mass with us this year, and
Yeah.
I think a big reason is because of Kay.
Yeah.
And Kay didn't go to Dana-Farber. Um, that wasn't her treatment hospital. You know, we live in North Carolina, so but for Alissa to do that, I think it's just tremendous,
Yeah.
and it's a way for her to give back to a community that doesn't. It's it's not the same hospital as Kay went to, but she's giving in a way to people who are going through something similar.
Yeah.
Um, and anyone going through any medical
Yeah.
issue, it, it's connecting in a lot of ways. You know, I had cancer, but people have
Yeah.
countless other things
Yeah.
that I don't know anything about. But what I do know is how the challenge of it, the stress it causes you and your family, and I just think it's a really cool way to give back to a place that helps. Everybody goes through this stuff. This isn't unique.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
it's some people have it worse than others, and some people are lucky. Like myself, I consider myself very lucky, um, and it's just really cool. I think it's really cool that Alyssa's traveling all the way up to Massachusetts to raise money and ride her bike really far for a cause that didn't even directly, impact Kay. But it's a cool way to connect with her
Yeah.
spirit and her memory. And I think that's what the PMC allows a lot of people to do is connect with an experience for myself I went through. It's sort of an opportunity to dive into the emotions that I tend to suppress just going through work, going
Yeah.
through life. You
Yeah.
get busy, you got
Yeah.
to suppress emotions.
Yeah.
It's a moment to work hard and get in touch with yourself. And for it's also a way to connect with people you love,
Yeah.
what they went through, or
Yeah.
maybe people you loved
Yeah.
who were paid the ultimate sacrifice. But
Yeah.
um, it's just a really nice opportunity to band together.
Yeah.
It's just it's a it's just a way for community and
Yeah.
humans helping each other and
Yeah.
providing strength with one another. So
Yeah. Yeah. No,
that's a
absolutely.
yeah
Yeah.
big part of why I'm doing it this year, and big part of why so many people are joining me. So
Yeah. No, no, that's great, Kevin. That's why we do these talks. That's why Pan Mass Challenge has grown so much over 45 years. You're right. It's everybody's being touched by some sort of medical situation, chronic health issue in their family, and um, it's an opportunity for community to come together, for us to band together, to us to learn from each other, to lend strength to one another, and turn kind of a post-traumatic stress into a post-traumatic growth. And you're a huge example of that. I've learned a lot from you in all of this. Just your journey from learning about the diagnosis to then, seeing you along the way. Um, every time we follow up, you're getting stronger. I remember it was amazing when I first heard you were going to do the Pan Mass Challenge because, we had been connecting and everything, but the last time I saw you was like right before you were going into your stem cell treatment and you had lost a lot of weight and you had lost a lot of strength. And it was just amazing that you committed to the Pan Mass and you trained for it, you did it. And before we wrap up here, can you just kind of tell me a little bit your first Pan Mass? It's a long ride. Can you just tell me a little bit about kind of what was going through your head at the time and what got you across that finish line?
yeah, I think last year was an emotional ride for me. It was more of a challenge to myself of can you get this done? Um, I mean, I was probably I tried to do it the year before, which was not a good idea. I think I would have been in between chemo and my transplant. The doctor said absolutely not. So I said, all right, one more year. Um, and so it was really a challenge physically for me, and emotionally. And it was sort of a screw it situation, see if I can get it done.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and also just being so fresh out of all the treatment, it was incredibly emotional.
yeah, yeah,
And it was just a way to, you know, almost like pay back all the people who worked hard for me.
yeah,
And it was just so fresh.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I don't know. I trained as best I could physically. I was still quite ill all the time. My immune system was really weak, so I was sick quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I trained best I could. Um, and I was really, really surprised with how I responded on the day. Um, the first day is like 110 miles. And then the second day is like, I don't know, 75 or something like that. Um, and I just viewed it as one just experience. And you don't get great sleep the night between. You're not in your own bed and you're exhausted. Um, but I did everything I could to set myself up for success, and I just wanted to experience it. And it was very raw. It was very emotional for me, just seeing the signs on the side of the road and the people, um, and meeting some of the people, some of the strongest people I've ever met. And it just was deeply grounding for me. It was an opportunity to realize how lucky I am, and tap into this idea that I've kind of carried over the last year of like got to move forward. And it's not so much as forgetting the past and even putting it in the past. It's different than that. It's just a one step in front of the other type of idea of there's more to life than just um, this event. So it gave me the courage to try to grow in other areas of my life, like try to get a job again, get back to work, um, things like small things that are not small, but that we take for granted. So it just really opened me up, opened my mind up. And but on the day of, yeah, I was just trying to get through, try to just eat as much as possible. I can eat a tremendous amount, so it's a good excuse to just eat a bunch of crap all day. Um, I think I had 7 cheeseburgers the night in between the two rides. I counted, it was 7, and I could have kept going, but I was like, I should just go to bed at this point. But
Yeah.
uh, but it was really fun, and there were some dark moments that you're going to get in any physical endeavor,
Yeah.
and they were really just nice to tap into a place where you have to put yourself into such a physically weakened state where your mind is allowed to be free. And I was able to have memories of things that I had totally suppressed from my experience, and it was raw, it was emotional, but it was really cool, and it helped me in the last year. And then, yeah, this year I think it's going to be quite different. I'm open minded to see what it all will entail, but I think it'll be more feel like a celebration. I have my uncles, my brother, my friend Nate, and Alissa all around me. We're not all going to ride together doing different routes, but we're all going to have this shared experience. We'll be together at Mass Maritime, where you get housed there in between the 2 nights,
Yeah.
uh, and we'll be together, ride together a second day, and hopefully get some time to hang out together on the Cape afterwards. And uh, it's just going to be, I think it'll be completely different. And I think it's going to be a nice full circle moment for the people who showed up really in a big way
Yeah.
for us to do something hard together. And
Yeah.
my brother, who was my donor, I mean, I can't say enough about
Yeah.
him. I mean, I literally have his blood in my body.
Yeah.
My friend Nate, man, he packed up all our stuff in California and drove it across with our dog across the country to
Yeah.
Framingham for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Just a true friend. And Alissa, who's just been, she's my sister-in-law. And I don't mention all my other sisters and my parents, but it's just a way for all of us to. It feels to me like a celebration
Yeah.
for all of us, and that's I think what it will be this year. But I'm open minded. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to be there, but I'll be there in spirit, and I'll be waiting for your text when you're done with everything.
oh yeah.
But yeah, it's if there's anything, is there anything you'd like to say to somebody who's just received their cancer diagnosis? Anything that you'd like to share with them at this point?
I'm gonna be honest. I've been thinking about this question for a while, and I think I don't know how to answer it. I've only known my experience, but I guess what I would want to say is it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be weak. Um, all these uncomfortable emotions that you're probably feeling are it's actually strength, to feel those and share those and admit you need help. Um, and I think that's true with every illness. But I don't know, there's something conditioned in us to avoid these emotions and mask them. And true strength is um, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and accept help.
Yeah.
The world and the people around you have so much to give you, and the best way you can participate in that is to fully accept all the help. And doesn't mean you have to be nice all the time. It doesn't mean you have to like give into the overwhelming sympathy that you receive when you're sick, but it it's it's a way to, by being vulnerable and accepting help and being scared, and it's all okay. And you know, it's a heavy thing to answer this question because I was lucky enough to be okay, um, but a lot of people will be as well. And so all we have is today and the relationships that we have with people. So I think I would suggest tapping into those and allowing yourself to be weak and allowing strength to come from external sources.
Yeah. 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 No, that's powerful. How can people find you and support you on this Pan Mass Challenge journey? I mean, we're talking about just in a couple of days, you're going to be riding off.
Yep. Yeah. So August 2nd, I believe Saturday, August 2nd is the day one. Um, and day two is the next day, Sunday, August 3rd. And I'll provide my PMC account,
Yeah.
my profile. Um, if they want to support me in any way, that's a good way to do it. Um, all proceeds go to Dana-Farber. 100% of the rider raised funds go to Dana-Farber, go to the operations, go to the it. It's a it just all goes to Dana-Farber. So it's not going anywhere you don't want it to, and it's going to people that really work hard, and an established system that helps people like me and people like all of us. So that's a good way to catch me. I don't have too much social media presence, but I'll throw in my if I'll throw in my uh, social media in the link too.
Yeah.
But yeah, really the PMC is the best way.
Great. Great. Yeah. We'll link all that in the description box below. And, Kev, I thank you so much for doing this, for sharing your story. It's not an easy story to share. Um, but, you know, throughout this whole process of, from being diagnosed and continue to talk to you and every time checking in with you, you've been an inspiration to me. Everything my family has been working on with my dad and just the evolution of communicating with you, everything on your end has been this others focused, servant focused, helping, contributing to others focused, community focused sort of frame. And that's an empowering frame, and it's empowering to connect with someone like you who went through something like that. And like you said, the treatment's not over, right? So um, I know that everything that you're doing is now from that frame of how can your story and how can this ride and how can what you do every day help other people, especially people who maybe have just received their cancer diagnosis, going through a similar situation, going through a similar medical issue. I know a lot of people will listen to this and hopefully be able to take drafts of just encouragement, of positivity, and this great community-based, servant-based mindset that you exude every day. So, um, and another thing that really stands out to me is just how amazing your family's been in all of this, how amazing your support system's been. Uh, it's like they tell you the last place you got to be, stay away from the airport, stay away from the airplane. Um, but you take that risk, and I know that you got a special type of mindset, you're a special type of person, but I know a lot of that too is the kind of the backing that you felt from Dana, your family. Um, so I tip my hat off to Dana, especially your family, and everybody who's rallied around you. And I'm really happy to see that there's a team around you, and I hope that team continues to grow every year. And we're everybody who's listening is supporting you 100%. So hopefully we can be part of the win that you're back when you start this off in the next couple of days. So yeah, Kev, great talk. Thanks a lot, and we'll connect down the road.
All right, Eddie. Thank you so much, man.